Just the end that I really needed to see for Cobra Kai. Stick around and let's talk about it.
All I need are some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Rad, back with another video, and a video that I have been waiting to do since 2018, since the start of Cobra Kai. For those of you that have followed the series, if you recall, it was back on YouTube Red when that was a thing, and which was the whole reason why I got it. I think it's since turned into YouTube Premium, I think, which I have, but I literally got YouTube Red so I can watch season 1 of Cobra Kai. Now, for those of you that have followed the channel for a while, and when I'm in the Rad Cave, you've seen the Karate Kid collection that I have. I absolutely love Karate Kid, and I was super stoked about Cobra Kai coming out. And there's been massive channels that have been built over the last 7 years just based on Cobra Kai, reviewing the seasons, the Easter eggs, and whatnot. So I am, to say the least, a huge fan of it. And it was awesome to see the way that it ended, because the series is now over. So for those of you that don't want spoilers, then I would say don't watch this video. I'm not going to wind up going over and showing clips and getting into a lot of detail, because there's a lot of other channels, quite frankly, that are doing that. I'm not here to do Easter eggs or hidden meanings behind whatnot. It's just regarding, being Gen X and remembering when Karate Kid came out, and then how my love grew into the series of Cobra Kai, and some of the things that I didn't like about it, a lot of the things that I didn't like about it. And then, of course, the way it finished was the way that I think true fans really wanted it to end. So with that said, season 1, in my opinion, was the best season, because remember, the series was called Cobra Kai. It was from Johnny's side of the story, and which I love the idea. Now, I will admit that when Karate Kid first came out, I obviously, didn't get the full scope of things. I was young. I was like 11 years old, I think, when it came out. So, everybody was into karate. I mean, Bruce Lee had died a couple years before I was even born. So I did grow up watching Bruce Lee movies, Chuck Norris, but it wasn't until Karate Kid came out that there was a wave of people joining dojos all over the United States. I unfortunately was not one of them, but back then I can resonate with the character of Daniel LaRusso. I was a little goofy, a little bit nerdy, kind of still am, but I can resonate with him. And so I love the movie. I think more so I loved Mr. Miyagi. I love that character. It's a shame Pat Morita passed away so long ago. It would have been great to have him in this series. But but then as I got older, and then I joined martial arts myself. Now, for those of you that don't know, and they never really talk about, there's a couple little mentions here and there. Karate Kid 3 mentions it. And then, of course, I think in one of this last season of Cobra Kai, they mention it. But Cobra Kai is not karate. It's Tong Soo Do, which is Korean. It's basically Korea's form of karate. And so Cobra Kai is Tong Soo Do, which is what I ended up getting into and getting a second-degree black belt in, which I had no idea at the time. It's just funny how it worked out. And I know that because also when I went and met Will Zabka in person and got a photo with him and got his autograph, I kind of told him the same story, and he was just like, that's the same style that I practice. And I think he was meaning the Johnny Lawrence character, not himself. But so once I got into martial arts and I understood martial arts, then I go back and I watch, Karate Kid, even after that. And then even to this day, you start to kind of pick apart how kind of goofy it is in a lot of ways. And, nobody fights in kata form, which is, the blocks and the punches and stuff like that. I mean, the UFC has kind of shown that that's just not how people fight. But the story behind Miyagi, the way that he taught Daniel, was also based on a Japanese guy or Okinawan guy from, a couple hundred years ago that did the same thing, where people joined up. They had to be selected to go in, and there were some of them that would cut trees and break rocks for 2 years before they would, and those that stuck around would be the ones that were worthy enough to begin to be taught. But that 2 years or 3 years or however long they were breaking rocks or cutting wood was conditioning them, making them stronger, making them harder, making them tougher. And so just the story of it, when you become a martial artist and you look back on it, you realize how truly awesome of a movie it was. But then as I got older, and this is where it gets controversial, because it's funny, you have a lot of people and you see them on the threads that they just go at each other on this stuff. It's hilarious. It's a fictional movie, guys, but yet people tear themselves apart over it. And so over the years, I started to watch the movie and I was just like, you know what? It kind of seems to me like Daniel is the one that's starting all the shit with Johnny. And so there's a lot of us that think that, and there's others that don't. But if you think about it, look, I'm not saying Johnny Lawrence was a nice guy, right? But Daniel's the one who picked the fight with him that night at the beach. Daniel's the one that poured the water, put the water hose over him when Johnny was rolling a joint in the skeleton costume. So it was always Daniel that started it. Yeah, Johnny kicked his ass the first time. Wasn't right for him to get jumped by his friends. But then again, he had Kreese in his ear teaching him that way, which is not the proper way. So in that sense, Miyagi was right, where it should be for defense. You shouldn't be picking fights. You shouldn't be doing all that type of stuff. But so I sit on the side of, I'm a huge Johnny Lawrence fan. I still love Daniel LaRusso character, but, let's face it. In real life, the character of Johnny Lawrence would kick Daniel LaRusso's ass all the time. Drop a comment below if you agree or disagree. And again, this isn't the video where I'm going to show highlights and stuff like that. But I'm not going to get into the kids. Just know that they end the story with all the different kids, the boyfriend, the girlfriend. Some go to college, some go over here. But my issue that I had gotten frustrated about since 2018 or 2019 when the second season came out, when it came on Netflix, is that LaRusso started interjecting himself into the Cobra Kai story. And then it kind of became for, season, maybe not season 2, because that's when Kreese came back and kind of screwed stuff up. But season 3, 4, and 5, it had become Miyagi-Do karate, which kind of pissed me off because the series was called Cobra Kai. I wanted it to be about Cobra Kai, and somehow it became Miyagi-Do again. And so, season 6, they broke it up into 3 parts, which I think was completely stupid, but that's what Netflix did. And I think they did it just to keep you, to keep your subscription. Because you all know, if we knew that it was coming out and you're not a Netflix subscriber, you'll pay the $15 or $16 to watch them, binge watch them, and then cut your thing off. So kudos to Netflix for doing that from a business standpoint, but it just kind of sucks for the prolonged, the timeline of the show. You kind of forget stuff that, by part 3 that happened in part 1, and that kind of comes together in part 3. And, quite frankly, I kind of forgot about it. So I've held back all of this time of making a video about it because I really wanted to see how it ended. And I am super happy with the way that it ended. So some of the spoilers about this, obviously, again, if you don't want to know about it, then, click away, come back and watch it after you've watched the series. But, Johnny always had a love for Kreese. He respected him. And based on what he did to him that day in the parking lot, when he broke his trophy after coming in second to LaRusso in the All Valley, it just kind of set his life on a path that he was in this rut. And then it wasn't until season 6, part 2, if you've seen it, when I think the guy's name was Han or whatever, he fell on the knife and he died. And then come into part 3, that's when Kreese realized, he literally saw a teenage kid get killed, and over high school karate, right? So to say the least, he went back and he made amends with Johnny. He tried to in the very parking lot at first where he broke the trophy. And then in a twist, and Johnny was fighting for Miyagi-Do, right? That was their team. And but then by a twist, he sees Kreese, and there's this, very teary-eyed moment where Kreese truly apologizes and Johnny lets loose on him. Will, you did a great job of portraying those emotions. And Johnny breaks down, lets him know his true feelings, and then
needed you most. You have no idea what those years were like. I trusted no one.
You know, based on the way the rules were, Cobra Kai was back. So you got to watch the show to see it. So then Johnny finally gets to suit back up in his Cobra Kai gi, and Miguel, who was his first student, that's how it all started, was his champion. And so they end up winning, of course, and that's the way it should have been. You know, it ended a little bit with, you know, I get it. If from the very beginning, there's, you know, in nature, there's the yin and the yang, you know, the equal and opposing forces that go against one another, light and dark. Cobra Kai was defense. I'm sorry, Cobra Kai was offense. Miyagi-Do was defense. And so, you know, Cobra Kai always wore black. Miyagi-Do wore white. So it's just like the yin yang symbol. So, you know, Johnny gets set up, gets his school back to where he's finally going to be able to teach what he tried to teach in season one, but now as a better person and a better understanding of how to teach. And but he's like, I can only teach you offense, and then my students are also going to learn Miyagi-Do. So that was a little weird because being a black belt, second degree black belt in Tong Soo Do, we do know defense, right? So that's the little corny thing. If you only know offense, then that's just because you're being aggressive and you're not playing defense. But defense does win games. I get that. So kind of happily ever after, the way that it worked out, that it went back, the way that it started. And I don't know if the writers realized that they had kind of gotten off track and people were pretty pissed off about how it become all about, you know, Miyagi-Do and then these side stories with Miyagi. So it got a little weird, and you know, there's plenty of videos out there where they've been roasted over the years for like really bad acting, really stupid one-liners.
This entire plan. You didn't bring the one thing you were in charge of.
I forgot, okay? I've got a lot on my mind right now. If I don't pass trait this semester, my dad's gonna shit in my mouth.
And those stupid bulk fights that they would get into, like at the mall, the one at the school, then the one at the tournament that they fought in part two. Just kind of stupid. And then again, the way that they fight just always was a little corny to me. But the overall story of remembering back when we were kids, you know, young kids watching that movie is why I made this movie, or why I made this video, and why I continue to watch the series and kept my mouth shut for all this time about it, just to see how it would end. And it ended right. But being a Gen X channel, you know, what were your thoughts on Karate Kid when it came out? Because I know that the younger generation can watch it today and like the movie, right? But I just don't know if it hits the same because, you know, people are different today. It's not the same way. But back in the 80s, the whole good kid versus the bully, or the rich kid versus the poor kid, I think is still put into movies today. But that movie had a really good lesson. You had a really bad instructor in Kreese and a really awesome instructor in Miyagi, right? And you kind of wonder what type of person Johnny would have turned out being if he was trained by, say, somebody like Miyagi instead of Kreese. So I am just, again, I'm super stoked to have seen it, and they ended it the way that they did. I'm sad to see it go, but it was kind of time to go. Like I said, Ralph Macchio is already going to be, I think it's called Karate Kid Legends with Jackie Chan. So it's going to be another spinoff. It would be kind of cool to see Will Zabka in something like that as well. But I think for now, that's going to be done with. But what were your thoughts? Have you seen it? If not, do you want to watch it? And what side are you on? Are you a team Johnny, or are you a team Daniel? And if so, why? Drop it in the comments and let me know. And throw in some comments of how you were in the 80s. Did you go and join a karate school or a dojo back in the day after that movie came out? Because you know how when we go watch a Rocky movie and you'd leave the theater being all pumped up and boxing your brother or your friends and whatever, and then, you know, one of you ends up getting hurt because you overdo it a little bit. But yeah, again, I'm a nostalgia channel. We talk about Gen X topics. So let's just keep it focused on that for fond memories that you may have had. You either loved it or you hated it. You either love Cobra Kai or you hated it. But drop a comment below. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. And with that said, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.